my friends, welcome back to another tutorial. This week I am going to paint something nice and warm and inviting. A nice little sunset, okay? Nice dramatic clouds up in the sky, warm colours and a little bit of an ocean as well. So I just thought something nice and colourful for this week before we start heading into snow scenes for winter and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's it. Let's go and have a bit of fun with this. Lots of colours. I have a canvas behind me here. It is 20 by 8, primed once, and I have a palette with my colours, and I put the names on the colours because someone on Facebook was suggesting, or I think it was YouTube, was suggesting could I put the names of the colours on, which is a great idea. I don't know why I didn't do this a long time ago, but you know, I just never popped into my mind, to be quite honest. So I put the names on the palette just to make it easier for you to follow me along. Okay, I hope you don't mind. Let's go and have a bit of fun with this. Sunsets. If you're looking for a sunset tutorial, I think this will be a fantastic one. All right, let's see how we get on. This is going to be fun. Don't go anywhere. Okay, here we go. Painting. Let's go and have a bit of fun with this. Okay, there's a reference photograph. Isn't that lovely? Something just caught my eye with this. I think something nice and colourful, nice rich clouds. Let's see if we can get a nice painting out of this. Here's my canvas primed once, as I said before. I'm going to take some masking tape and just put some masking tape across my canvas, all right, just for the horizon line. And that will just give us a nice idea of, let me just take the camera and make sure this is all recording and everything looks good. Okay, everything looks good. Let's put this across our horizon line, nice and low down, okay, around. Now, bear in mind, I'm trying to think that I have a frame on this as well, so it's going to take up a little bit of the corner all the way around. So I'm going to go a little bit higher up with the horizon line. So let's say around here, okay? And just stick that across and we're done. A lovely sky in this. Let's have a go. I hope you can see the names of my paints, okay? I'm not sure what it's like on camera. Let me just have a fast look. I just want to make sure you can see the colours. Yeah, that is not bad. Great idea, whoever suggested this idea. Thank you so much. Let's crack on. Let's crack on, have a bit of fun with this. Come on, let's go, have a bit of fun. I'm going to take a medium brush, okay? A medium flat brush. I have turpentine with linseed oil already in my little jar, okay, just a little bit, that's all we need. It's not perfectly clean, but it'll do for this, it's fine. And I'm going to start with that lovely kind of blue, okay, that lovely soft blue. And I'm going to go with cobalt, a little cobalt and some white. I might add a little touch of phaylo as well into this because there's kind of a greeny blue going on. Don't know if you can see it or not. Let's take a little bit of phaylo and I'm going to put this blue now. It's quite thin, okay, not very thin, but it's thin, like a thin cream, okay? And let's just take this and go, let's try it up here. Let me take a look. Now, this might do for this side over here, actually, okay? And because we have a lot of warmth in this, I'm going to take the tiniest touch of crimson as well, just for this side over here. It's a lovely soft blue, very soft and very, not very rich at all, okay? Go up here. It's a nice thin mix. Now a little bit more white, adding more white in as it comes across. And a lot of people, especially beginners, when they're thinking about landscapes and sunsets like this, they tend to really overthink what they're doing, okay? They really overthink it. I just kind of separate it into sections, that's all. Okay, so look, I'm doing the blue here first, adding some more white, just to lighten it a bit. Then going up to the darker side, I'm going to take some phaylo, which is a very, very powerful colour, okay, very rich. Some white. Now, it's a little bit on the thick side, so I'll take a tiny amount of thinners just with the corner of my brush, just to thin it ever so slightly, just a tiny touch. So keep mixing until you get the colour you think you want. And I want to keep this quite warm, so I'm going to add a touch of crimson into this. A little bit more phaylo and perhaps a little bit more cobalt as well. Let me take a look at this. There's a very rich blue. I want really rich colours in this. I don't want very kind of pastel-y sort of colours. So I'm going for a really very rich colour. And Okay, just like that. That will do. We have a big band of colour coming across here, don't we? Next, I'm going to just give that a quick rub on some tissue, get some of the paint off. I'm going to go into this really dark plum colour, okay? Now, a plum. How would you make a plum? Let's just take some phthalo blue and alizarin crimson, lots of each. And there's probably more crimson in this, okay, than there is blue. Let me just have a look at this now. Okay, a little bit more crimson. And I had the cadmium red there just for the warm oranges, okay? And I will tell you what colours I have. White, Naples yellow, cadmium yellow pale, cadmium red, alizarin crimson, phthalo blue, cobalt blue, black, any black will do, a little burnt sienna, okay? That's what I have. So let's make a nice plum. Alizarin crimson, some phthalo blue, and a very rich, nice dark plum. Look at that, that's lovely. Right up into these clouds here, into the sky, and that's going to mix with the blue as well, which is absolutely fine, okay? Pulling that in, soften it through here and there. Look, just as if it's little clouds breaking off here and there, you see? I'm just using the tip of my brush now, that's all. Already, that's looking quite nice. I'm happy with that. Now, I'm going to go into real more reds with this, okay? So that's kind of most of the blue done. So I'm going to start picking up more reds. More alizarin crimson, some cadmium red. The cadmium red will give us a lovely, rich, warm, wine kind of colour. And we have a bit more plum in this. Let's go over here with the plum. My brush is not very wet, okay? I'm dragging the paint very thinly across the canvas because I don't like putting on layers that are really, really thick. Not too thick anyhow. So I like to build them up kind of slowly. Does that make sense? More crimson. Again, nice little plum colour, soften it upwards. It's just a case, when I'm doing this, all I'm basically doing is just looking at the photograph and trying to mimic the colours as best you can, really. Now, a bit more cadmium red, and I'm going to go across under here with the cadmium red. You can see there's a lovely warm spot there. This will be a base now for my kind of warm orange that we have. You can see there's a warm orange there, and this will make a nice base for that. A little bit of crimson and a little touch of white. I'm going to go up here. We have lovely sort of a soft pink kind of coming through the sky here and there. And what you're doing with this is you're kind of following the direction of the cloud, okay? So what I mean by that is to create direction in your sky, just sort of pull some of the clouds down like this, you see? So what it's doing is it's bringing your eye, it's forcing your eye to come down into the painting, you see? Like that, okay? And look, I'm not copying the painting, the photograph exactly, okay? I don't want a complete mirror image of what I'm painting. I just want to kind of make it my own as well as I go along. So just kind of play around with it, have a bit of fun. Now, let's get some nice pink again. Crimson, maybe a hint of Naples yellow. That will give us a soft, a warm kind of a soft pink. Right down to the horizon line here. Then I'm going to soften it upwards into that colour there, okay? Now give your brush a quick wipe with some tissue. And I tend to work quite quickly when I'm doing sunsets and stuff like this. Let me make sure now my camera is recording away. Yes. I dread the idea that my phone will just kind of go dead or it will just stop recording for some strange reason. It has happened many times. I do have a camcorder, but the charge is not very, very good on the camcorder, to be quite honest. It only lasts about 30 minutes or so. So I must invest in a good battery for the camcorder. Now, I took Naples yellow and some crimson, and a lot more Naples yellow now going into this as we come across, okay? So what we want is a nice transition from the dark plummy colours over to a light salmon colour and then into yellows. So we're going from darks into lights. If I put on a very rich yellow here and mix it directly into the plum, it'll go a muddy green colour. So you need something in between, okay? Always with yellows and plums, something in between to neutralize any greens. You see what I mean? Now, that blue here, okay, I need to knock away some of that blue. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit of tissue, rather than trying to paint over it and ending up with muck on my canvas. I'm going to just take a bit of tissue, dampen that with some thinners, okay, and I'm just going to rub off the bulk of the blue. Just rub some of it off, okay? That will just help me cover the canvas much, much easier. All right? You can follow, can't you? There we go. I just went a bit dark, I just went a bit far down with the blue, that's all. Now, that should help. I'm going to now just take a little bit of crimson and some white. And I already have some Naples yellow in there anyway. I'm going to soften that across there, look, you see? Again, a little base for my yellows to work on. And then we do have a nice light pink down at the bottom. So add a bit of white into that colour. And just soften that in, look. And I'm not worried yet about rich kind of clouds and all that kind of thing. I just want to get the kind of the base coat in first to give us something to work on. Now I will, I think, switch to some of the yellows. How about that? Will we go with some of the yellows? I'll give my brush a nice clean out. Okay, it doesn't have to be completely spotless, and I could probably do the bulk of the work with this brush. Let's take some cadmium yellow, little Naples yellow, just to make it a little bit of opaque. Okay, and I'm going to take some, now we have a choice, cadmium red or crimson. I think I might try crimson first. I think that might give us a nice orange. How about this? Okay, let's go a little bit more. So I'm taking tiny, tiny amounts with my brush, that's all. Tiniest little amounts. And let's try this now. Let's go across with some of this. And I'm really putting on a thin layer of paint, okay? I'm just really dragging this across over my canvas because it's only a small area. I don't want too much rich colour in here. I want to just build up my layers nicely as I'm going along. Okay, let's put that across like that. Soften it across, soften it upwards. I'm just barely touching the canvas, okay? Just barely touching it. Now, you'll see where we have some blue. What I'm going to do is just give that a quick dip in some turpentine. I dry on a tissue, and I'm going to just pick up a little bit of Naples yellow with white and a hint of crimson. Okay? And that's going to go just here. Just to neutralize the blue, just a little, okay? Softening it upwards. Then come down here. That allows you to mix it without getting any greens, you see? So look, we have a nice blend of colours here now, haven't we? And always sit back every few minutes and take a look at how it's going, okay? So now we get to the exciting part, I suppose you could call it. All this rich kind of cloud and all that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, should I get a smaller brush perhaps? Maybe I should try a smaller brush. I'll go with a nice little small brush that I have here. It's a medium small. Number 8 flat, okay? And these are all soft brushes, very soft synthetic brushes I use. I like to use these brushes, they're lovely. And I'm going to start darkening some of this up here, okay? I'm going to take some cobalt blue, alizarin crimson, and I'm going to mix a nice rich dark plummy colour, okay? Maybe a touch of phaylo. And let's have a look at this. Okay, that's not bad. And I do want this really rich and dark, so I might add the tiniest touch of black into this. And again, a little bit more blue. You can see up on the top there, it's really, really very kind of blacky, isn't it? It's almost like a blacky blue kind of a colour. So I'm just going to soften some of this in, and it's basically a case of just going around in little circles with your brush. That's all I'm doing. Okay, let's go up here into that, and that nice little bright blue in the background, then that will give us a bit of distance. So that's suggesting the light blue sky up in the distance. There we go, a little bit of black, a little bit more blue. I have a very blacky kind of a bluey colour here now, and there's a hint of crimson in this. That's just to keep everything nice and kind of warm, okay? Again, a little bit of phaylo, a little bit of crimson. And let's just cut into this nice blue we have here. And I suppose you could just be really free with all of this. There's no set kind of technique with this really. If you have your own technique, use it, okay? I just kind of do it this way. I'd be very loose and very rough with the brush, letting the brush kind of dance around on the canvas, because clouds are very sort of spontaneous, aren't they? There's no kind of set shape for the cloud in particular. When painting very rich dark clouds like this, it's just a case of, I mean, you could even choose to use your palette knife if you wish. Something like that would be very effective as well. Now, a little bit more blue. I just want to kind of have it nice and cool over in this corner. Like that. And as it comes down, then I'm going to add a lot more crimson into the mix. But it's still kind of dark, you see? Still nice and dark. Now, as I come down, I want to start creating cloud direction. So I'm going to show you, okay? I'm going to just start pulling, going up like this at an angle, okay? So now we're starting to get the cloud direction going like that. A little bit more crimson. Then it goes into a kind of lovely orange here, doesn't it? So I'm not going to go too far with that just yet. I'm going to just soften that down into that lovely pink off in the distance. And I might even just give it a couple of little swirls like that as well. And that will even help a bit more with the direction of the clouds, okay? See what I mean? So, it's getting there slowly, albeit a little slowly, but there's no rush whatsoever. There's no panic with all of this. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm simply going to take a little phaylo blue and lots of white, okay? I'm just going to go up here and add a little bit of light here and there, okay? I want to add just a hint of little bits of light popping through these clouds up here. Maybe a bit more phaylo blue. And I'm also kind of giving the clouds a little bit of highlight as well. And then I'm going to take a soft brush, very soft blender brush, and I'm just going to kind of soften all these clouds, okay? I'm going to soften them all. I'm going to put some darker cloud up here now as well, just a little bit darker. I feel it's still a bit light. I want a really dramatic dark sky up in this corner here. So I'll clean that brush again, just give it a quick dip in some turpentine, rub it on some tissue, and now let's get some really dark colour. Some phaylo blue, lots of it. Alizarin crimson, lots of it, and a little black. Not too much black because it's really, really black, okay? And let's go up here and start putting some really dark colours into these clouds. Now, when you get your light colours on your brush, just rub it on the tissue, okay? Just rub it on the tip of your tissue like that, just to keep it clean. A little bit more crimson. So that's a bit better now, isn't it? You see, nice rich dark plum colours. I'm just simply going around in little circles with the tip of my brush when I'm softening it in, you see. I'll get a bit more. Come over here. As it comes across, it's going to get warmer. Alright? Plenty of pink in this as it comes across. Bit more crimson. I'm using probably 90% just paint on its own, okay? Because it's only small areas of painting anyway. You don't need really any turpentine in this because we already have a nice wet layer underneath, okay? Now let's take a bit of cadmium red into this. And I'm going to go up here with the cadmium red and start pulling some cadmium red down into it. So it's starting to get warmer. Some more crimson. And it's really very warm around the centre here. Now we have that lovely orange and yellow. So nice and warm. Crimson, cadmium red. So this then again is to be a nice base for our yellows to sit on, you see. And then softening that nice warm pink in over here. And even up a bit here as well. Now I'm just going to step back for a moment, take a look. Okay, and a bit more crimson, a bit of cadmium red. Nice warm colours. And it comes down and just kind of disappears down into this. It's nice and soft down here then, isn't it? Look. So we'll soften that in with the tip of our brush. And I think we're not far off of this side being finished. Maybe a hint of one just here and there, just to push that blue sky back, okay? Now, one other thing I want to do is take a little black with crimson, all right? And I want to just really go to town with some really dark colour, bit more crimson. I want to go to town with some really dark colours up here. A hint of phaylo. As I'm going, you see, I'm just kind of adding little touches of different colour to it. If I feel it's too warm, add a bit more blue. If it's too cool, add a bit more red. That's what I'm kind of doing as we speak. And over here there's a nice dark section. Okay. And again, that's nice and dark up here. So you see, I'm just looking at the reference photograph, looking where I see dark colours and light colours. And, you know, you can't really go far wrong if you kind of use that method. Let's go a little bit higher with that. Okay. Because we will be softening all of this in again, okay? So don't worry. A little bit of cool colour over here. Just add some of that. Right, I'm going to stop for fear of overdoing it, okay? That's the important part. Knowing when to stop is very important. If you overdo it, it's very difficult to undo the work without making a bit of a mess. So it's very important. If you think it's okay, then just stop, take a good look. Just sit back even for a few minutes, take a look. If you're happy with it, leave it. I'm happy enough with that. I don't think that's bad at all. Okay, soften everything together. Lovely soft powder brush. My wife wasn't very happy, I'll be honest, when I took this. But once there's paint on it, she can't use it, so, you know. And I bought her plenty, don't worry. I replaced it. Okay. Let's take a look. Now, we're going to start working on highlights and stuff like that. Firstly, I want to just get in some of this nice cool colour here. I'm going to put this brush down now because I have a lot of blue on this brush. And I'm going to switch my tissue around, turn that around. And let's take another brush. Now what can we use? This is a nice little one here. Nice soft brush. Nice clean one. And okay, let's take a look now. This is this is a little bit tricky. I'm going to start with some Naples yellow and some white. And I'm going to just pop in the hint of one or two clouds off here in the distance. Okay, I'm going to soften those in because I can just kind of see one or two of those little cloud tops popping in here and there. And let's, okay, boom. We're going quite well. It's nice, a little bit at a time. Okay, just nice and soft off in the distance. And I think I'll start putting in some of these clouds up here. So I might start with a darker colour actually. I'm going to get a nice warm plum again, okay? A warm plum. And a little bit, that's all I need. Some crimson, pick up some of this blue here. Now, let's try that. Let's just have a look. I'm going to just start pulling some of these down like that, just to start. And you can darken it as you go. A little bit cooler. Okay, and I'm going to take more of that. I'm going to pop it in then just across in front of some of these, you see? You see the way it just kind of pushes in front of some of those clouds. Okay, just like that for now. Take a hint of cadmium red. Comes over, gets really orangey around the centre, doesn't it? Take a bit more cadmium. Pop a little bit of cadmium in as it comes down, so it's going to get warmer. Avoiding the plum when it comes down into yellows is very important. I'm going to save all the warm colours for last, okay? All these lovely oranges and reds and stuff like that. I want to keep those to last. I just want to kind of focus on getting some highlights and stuff like that in. So we have some of these ones here. I'm going to just pop one or two more in. First of all, I'm going to actually switch to a more plum kind of a colour. So let's take some phaylo and some crimson, real darker kind of a colour. Okay, and I'm just being careful not to overdo it. A little bit of cadmium red and a little touch of sienna. So I'm going into the siennas now, okay? And I'm going to pop a little bit of that warm colour at the end of this cloud here. I'm just using the corner of my brush, okay? And I'm going to put some up here. This is just kind of a base colour now, just for now, okay? So we have this nice little warm colour at the end of the cloud, just there. And let me just try that colour. A little bit of sienna over here. Soften that across. Okay, then we've a little bit kind of breaking off up like that. Okay, so you can see it's just bit by bit, little by little. And don't try and copy it exactly. I'm not trying to copy this exactly, you know. I just want to get a nice representation of this beautiful sunset. Now I'll get more crimson on my palette. And okay, I'm going to start putting a nice rich orange in down here and start brightening it up. I want to leave this cloud to last because I'm very excited about that cloud and these highlights as well. So let me just get this nice rich colour in down here. Clean the brush. Let's pick up lots of cadmium yellow, a little bit of crimson. I'm using crimson instead of cadmium red because I find cadmium red makes it more of a mucky kind of an orange, whereas the crimson definitely makes it a richer orange. Let me know what you think about that. It's definitely richer. Bit more cadmium yellow as you come down into the centre. Let's get loads of cadmium yellow in there. Now I'll take some Naples yellow, cadmium yellow and some crimson. I'm going to put that lovely soft colour over here, okay? Lovely and soft. So you can see now we're starting to build up these colours slightly, aren't we? So we're getting there. And I pull that colour a little bit across here as well. Just a little. Just to transfer it across the painting. Okay? Right, I'll give my brush a quick clean again. I'm going to start going into some of the darker colours. So I can see we have some, I'm wondering if I used crimson and sienna, what kind of colour would we have? Let me just try it. Browny kind of a pinky colour. I might try some of that just around here. And you can see there's little kind of very rich dark clouds around here. That kind of a colour, isn't there? It's a lovely colour, isn't it, in fact? It's a really nice colour. And I'm using the tip of my brush. If you have a brush with a lovely flat kind of a tip, it's perfect. If you don't, just a small pointy brush is absolutely fine. Okay? Right, so nice darker bit of a colour there now, coming up like that. Yeah, I like that. And then it kind of comes across. I'll take into that a bit more crimson and then some cadmium yellow. And I'm putting on a lot thicker paint now, okay? It's very thick. And when I say very thick, it's not very thick, it's just that there's no turpentine in the colour, alright? Now I'm going to start adding a bit more crimson as it comes across here. Another little piece down at the bottom there, and everything disappears off into this central point, doesn't it? Okay, we're going quite nicely now. I'll take a little more cadmium yellow, so I'm going to start adding more and more cadmium yellow into this pinky colour down here. Getting it nice and rich. Lovely rich colours. I'm going to start moving to this cloud, okay? Let me just make sure now that's the right move to do. Let me just take some of this orange. I'm going to pop a little bit of the orange in just under some of those and a little bit on that. I don't want to mix too much because I don't want to get any greens or anything like that. I'm going to start lightening this cloud, okay? Now first I'm going to start with a nice rich pinky orange because we have some kind of dark bluey pinks on there, don't we, and plums. So I'm going to start with a pink colour first. So a little more crimson, a little bit more crimson, and then a tiny bit of cadmium yellow. So we'll start with the pink, and into that a little touch of Naples yellow. The Naples yellow will lighten this. It's much more gentle than the white. Because if I add white into this, it's going to get very bright very quickly. The Naples yellow warms it, but lightens it at the same time. I'm going to start with some of this colour, okay? This is a nice kind of a base. I'm just kind of flicking it upwards, leave it soften off up here. We have some highlights as well up here. I'm going to use that colour for some highlights on some of the clouds. So it's the underside of the cloud that you're seeing. Does that make sense? And a little bit more Naples yellow again. Now soften this up first, okay, just like this. Leave it soften down. Okay, like that. Now I know it looks a little bit kind of flat and stuff like that at the moment, but we'll keep adding more and more richer colours to this. Then I'm going to go into this next cloud underneath that. Soften it up. Now I'll clean the brush because it's getting quite dirty. And I'll go back into some of that colour again. I'll use a nice clean section up here, look. Now, nice pink. Soften that up. That. Not too much. I don't want to soften it too much into the blue and the purples because we'll end up with mud, okay? So I don't want mud. Don't want to get mud. Keep cleaning, 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 cleaning. Very important to clean a lot. Okay, next now I'm going to do is to soften some of these back in slightly, okay? Just a little. And soften some of these. I just want to take the little brush strokes out, that's all. Now, I'm going to go into some nice rich orange, okay? Rich, vibrant orange. Let's take some crimson. And I need to get some more cadmium yellow on my palette. I hope the names are helping, by the way. I hope they're making a bit of a difference to your painting. If you're following this along, I hope it makes a difference. Okay, lots of cadmium yellow, lots of crimson. We have a lovely rich orangey, pinky orange, okay? Let's start with that colour. Going to go in here with that lovely colour. Down there. I'm just using the very tip of my brush, okay? I'm going around in little circles. I've been careful not to mix it in too much. Then we have another lovely one just here. Again, clean the tip of your brush every couple of seconds because you're picking up dirty paint, you see. I'm going to start picking up more crimson because it's getting a little bit muddy just around here. So I'm going to pop a little bit of crimson into this here. Softening it up into that darker colour. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is take some cadmium red and I'm going to take a touch of crimson and maybe a hint of Naples yellow, then a tiny touch of yellow, cadmium yellow. And I'm going to try that colour. Nice rich reddy kind of a, it's a nice rich red, isn't it? I'm going to pop that through into that mauve there, you see. I think that will really help transition the colours. Now, give that brush a quick wipe, it's very dirty. Okay. Now I think I can start adding the lighter colours. I'm going to start taking some yellow with a hint of crimson, some Naples yellow, and another hint of crimson. And let's start adding some of these lighter shades just over that red, okay? Just where they're catching the light, okay? And it's a good idea just to have plenty of crimson in this mix, because that will neutralize any greens on your brush. I promise it really will. So just don't be shy with the crimson, okay? Crimson, Naples yellow, and a hint of cadmium yellow. I'm going to go up here with that colour, soften it in. And I'm going to add a little bit of highlight as well to the clouds on the right hand side with this colour, this nice Naples yellow with crimson, and add some nice highlight across those. One or two highlights down here. You see, I'm kind of adding to it myself as well. I don't want to copy the photograph exactly. I like adding my own little touches to pictures like this. Because you could be there for hours and hours and days, in fact, trying to copy a photograph exactly. I don't find that very fun, to be quite honest, trying to mimic something exactly like a photograph. I just don't have the patience. I like to be more free-handed with my work and just enjoy it. Just have a bit of fun and enjoy it. Okay. Again, now, I'm going to soften some of this back in again. So I keep putting on layers and softening them back in, and so on and so forth. Now we're getting there. We are getting there. Listen, taking our time with it. Okay. Now I'm going to start adding some nice rich yellow into this. Just where the sun is. Okay. I want to get some nice rich yellow on that. I'm going to take some cadmium yellow, a hint of this red. Okay. Not too much. Just maybe 90% cadmium yellow. And I'm just going to pop in some nice rich yellow here and there. I might even chance using a palette knife as well in a minute, just to give it some texture, and a little bit along here. Maybe a hint of yellow just here and there amongst the clouds, a sort of breaking through, isn't it? Isn't that lovely? Coming on nicely. Then I'm going to take some of that with some Naples yellow, a tiny touch of crimson. Now I know it's not on the photograph, but I'm just going to pop a little bit of it in, just here and there, just to really highlight these clouds. I think it will make a huge difference. Maybe a touch more red. creating the kind of curvature of the cloud. Okay, that's all I want to kind of achieve with this. Now I might put a little bit of that plum. We just get a nice little brush here. I might add a little bit more of the plum just in behind this one here, okay? And soften it down into that orange, just to help separate those two clouds a little bit more. And just along here as well. Then I'll soften those back in again. And then I go back at the highlights maybe once more. And then we might go on to little, maybe some little details with small detail brush, yes? So, just do these highlights once more. Cadmium yellow, alizarin crimson, Naples yellow. Now they are, looking at the photographs, they are really orangey highlights, aren't they? I'm going to leave the texture of the brush, I think, this time, just to make it look like the actual little clouds, okay? The ruffling of the clouds. Crimson, Naples, cadmium yellow, crimson, and again down here, maybe a bit more crimson. I'm being very, very fine now with the colours, adding little bits more of crimson in if I need to, okay? I'm just taking tiny amounts, you see? Because a tiny amount makes a huge difference. The brush starts getting mucky, then just give it a wipe again on some tissue. And let's go here again with that lovely rich orange colour. Okay. Now I'm going to take more crimson and I'm going to soften these outwards with a bit more crimson, okay? Now you may not be able to follow me along, you may be able to follow me along. Let me know. Just let me know what you think. If you think I'm being too complicated for beginners, just let me know. You know, from time to time I do like to give a really, really in-depth tutorial sometimes, rather than just going quickly across the canvas with something. Because I know a lot of you are becoming more advanced and you want to start seeing more in-depth kind of paintings. So just let me know what you think. I'm trying to kind of do something to suit everyone, do you know what I mean? Hope that makes sense. So I like to do kind of slightly more complicated tutorials from time to time, that's all. I'm going to add a little bit of a swirl to this one down here. Maybe just break off one or two small ones just to help transfer that down onto the blue. Okay. And I might take a little bit of the darker plum, put a little bit of the darker plum just here and there on this one. And maybe here. Okay. And again, I'm going to take some crimson, maybe with some cadmium red. And I'm going to just soften some of this orange back in with that colour, okay? Up into that kind of purpley colour. That just helps, again, transfer the yellow upwards into the plum without kind of getting muck on the canvas, okay? It really helps. I'm going to get a bit more pink down here and soften it out. All right. That, my friends, is not bad. Okay, not bad at all. Now, I think I'll move on to a smaller brush and let's get some nice little detail work done, okay? Do you want me to zoom in? I don't know. Should I or shouldn't I zoom in? That's a good question. I think I'll leave it just for now, all right? I'll top up my thinners just a little bit more. And I'm going to start getting some darker colours just around the centre, just as a nice silhouette. So, some burnt sienna, cadmium red, and maybe a touch of black. The tiniest little touch. So, I just want to start just refining some of these. You know, even just sort of letting the brush even just dance around. Do you know what I mean? It just adds a nice little bit of kind of detail into the centre of the painting there, you see? And it gives a nice little silhouette, I think. Like there's a couple of more little bits kind of flicking around up there. Maybe a little hint of it under this bit of a cloud here. Don't know if you agree, but I think it just adds a nice touch of a silhouette here and there to the sky, doesn't it? I think it does. Come up here, come off out, drag a couple of lines. It's sort of a hit and miss technique, okay? I'm just allowing the brush to sort of hit and miss the canvas here and there, not being too particular. I might just leave that kind of, perhaps just flick outwards a little bit, another bit there for instance. Take a bit more pink. As it comes down, it's going to have a bit more cadmium red and a little bit more cadmium yellow. So we're going into a more of an orange, a rich orange coming down here. So it's transferred now from a dark reddy brown into a kind of a reddy orange, you see. And there's some little clouds off in the distance. Okay. And one or two nice rich strong ones down there. All right, let me stop now for a moment and take a look at this. Okay, I'm going to bring slightly darker line across over here, let it disappear. I do see some mountains off in the distance, but I'm not going to put them in because they're so far away I don't think you'd even notice them, to be quite honest. They're so far away. Now I'm going to clean my brush. I'm going to take some bright colour. I'm going to take some white and some Naples yellow. I'm going to just add a little bit of light, highlight to some of these, because these are clouds, so they're going to catch a little touch of highlight here and there. This may be a little bit too detailed now for you to see, but I do want to put a little bit of it in. I'll take a little bit of white and some of the pink again. I'm going to go over and just brighten some of these, give them a little bit more form. And I'm going to add, now I need a nice bright orange colour again. So I'll take a little crimson, some Naples yellow, and I'm going to go up here and add a little touch of that to the underside of some of these. Just to suggest a light hitting those from the sun. Okay. And perhaps just along under some of these here. All right. So it's starting to make a little bit of sense. Nice and slowly, albeit. I'm going to add some highlights to these. All right. I'm going to go with some cadmium yellow, some Naples yellow, and a touch of crimson, and a bit of white. Okay, I want to go nice and bright with this, and I really want to just capture the light on some of these, just the undersides of some of them. Perhaps one or two up here. I know it's not as bright as this now on the photograph, but I'd like to really just sort of show them up a little bit more, okay? Just a touch. And then I'm going to take some cadmium yellow with white and just pop a little of that through, just to break up this area just a little bit more. I just want to soften one area. I just want to soften this outwards very slightly. I'm hardly even touching the canvas now with this brush, okay? And maybe just soften one or two of those back in as well. Then I'm going to take my knife. I'm going to take my palette knife. I'm going to get some cadmium yellow. I'm going to pop some nice rich cadmium yellow across the bottom here, okay? And just up under this cloud as well, and really drag it across. So it's really now really strong colour. And you can even see the shape of the palette knife is kind of making the paint really stick out a bit more, isn't it? So nice thick palette knife paint, cadmium yellow. Look at that, isn't that lovely? I like that now. Right up here, across under this cloud. Then perhaps the tiniest touch of white, just in the middle somewhere. But not too much. Okay, I don't want to overdo it. Right. I'm fairly happy with that. I mean, I don't think any artist is ever 100% happy with their paintings. You know, I think it gets to a stage where you say, okay, I can live with it. I'm happy with what I've achieved. But I don't think anyone is ever going to be completely 100% happy with their painting. There's always little things that you think you could have changed, made a little nicer. Do you know what I mean? There's always that element in painting. So it's learning, I suppose, to say, okay, I'm happy. I'm very happy with this. I've achieved what I set out to achieve and that kind of thing. Let's take off the masking tape. Okay. Lovely. And this is quite straightforward, okay? This part, it's quite straightforward. It's just a nice, rich, dark ocean all the way across. Right, let's take some rich plum colours. Again, the blues and lots of crimson. Now I need more crimson. And let's take a lot of that. And then some white. And let's simply put this in. Now I don't want to go too dark with this. So I need to be careful. Let's cover this all in with that nice rich colour. I've got a couple of spots there. Unfortunately, you just have to soften those back in just a little bit. Oh no, I made a little bit of a mistake there, didn't I? I made a little mistake. Let's fix it. Take a bit of pink and just soften a bit of pink through that. Okay, I'll try to be more careful when I'm putting this colour on. Let's just get this colour right across here. Nice rich blue, a little bit of pink going through it. Now I will add a touch of turpentine just to go up by the horizon line, okay? That will just give me a nice clean edge. And the same over here. May not be perfect. And to come to the center, then more red, okay? Just to allow for the yellow to go on top of this. Now, so we've that much in. I'm going to clean the brush now and take a lot more red. Cadmium red and some Naples yellow. I'm going to pop some of that in just along the centre. Okay, bring it down. And I need more Naples yellow. Next, I'm going to start forming some of the waves and that kind of thing. So I'll take this little flat brush. It's really just to get some shadowed areas in. I'm going to start with a light blue, okay? Some white and some phthalo blue. That gives us a nice bright blue. And let's just start putting in some sections. Okay, so look, some sections coming across like that. Another one down here. I just want to simply fill them in, get them blocked in, that's all. And another one or two over the distance over here. And they will mix naturally with the center colour. That kind of pink in the center, that red. They will mix naturally with that, so don't worry too much. I'll take a little hint of crimson in there. And let's just pull that across, like so. Just getting very rough areas, just filling in, that's all. You see? I'm going to make sure my camcorder is still recording here on my phone. It's still recording. We're still going strong. Still going. I'm surprised it hasn't packed up yet. I'm going to take a palette knife and I'm going to start putting in some darker shades, okay? Some darker lines. Some crimson, phthalo blue. Give it a little mix. And I'm just going to go and pop in the impression of some of these darker waves. Coming into the painting. Okay. Just dragging it across here and there, you see, off in the distance, just to help create some texture on the canvas, really, that's all it is. Then I'm going to take my little flat brush, okay, and I'm going to just pull some of those down and across, you see, a little bit of a curve. As if it's a little wave breaking off in the distance. And okay, we've another nice one up on front here, don't we? I'm going to get that one in and then add some wave splash and foam and all that kind of thing into that one. Crimson, bit of black. And I'm going to just pull it like that, you see? And we have another one, just kind of along here and there. Like that. Okay. We're really just trying to create a lovely little impression. Now, I might need to just brighten my camera just a touch. That's a bit better, isn't it? You can see the colours a little bit better. Okay, now I'm going to take some white with phthalo blue and a little touch of crimson. Tiniest little touch. And I'm going to create, just add a little bit of light to the tops of those. And I'm going to drag it across as well, just in between some of those waves, just to give, it's like a highlight but a shadowed highlight. Do you understand what I mean? It's what they call a kind of a shadowed highlight. So it's in shade, but you can see it. Do you know what I mean? It's a tricky one to kind of explain, but you get the idea. Now, drag that across here. Pull them across like that, down onto the water. I'm just creating a little bit of foam just on the tips of some of these. Okay, a little bit of foam kind of crashing over. Again, it's just an impression, all right? I don't want to kind of copy the photograph exactly. I'm just pretty much going this now alone. I'm just doing it my way. All right. Then you just soften some of these out. And you could even go over some of this with a fan brush as well if you wanted. And even a blender brush, just soften it all out. See, I'm just kind of softening them out just ever so gently. Okay, I'm going to put in some nice warm colour now for the sun in there in the centre, alright? I'm going to take some Naples yellow, little cadmium yellow, and some crimson. And it's much more pinky, alright, this colour. It's much more in the way of pink, but it's a warm pink. And I'm going to pop that in. And the reason I have more pink in this is because of this plum here, okay? I don't want to put more yellow into this colour. So I want to put more of a pinky, kind of pinky salmon colour onto it first. You see, that will stop any mixes of greens and all that kind of thing. Keep cleaning your brush in between. That helps. So you can start to see it lightening bit by bit. We're getting there bit by bit. Okay, we'll keep going. Crimson, Naples yellow. And I'll just keep adding and adding and adding to this. I will try a small brush. Let's try a small one for a change. I'll take a touch of cadmium yellow in there as well. Just to try and create some highlight on the water, that's all. A little bit more pink. Off in the distance. Then I'm going to get some nice rich cadmium yellow into this and some crimson. and some Naples yellow. And let's get some of that nice orange colour reflecting on the water as well. Okay. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to sort of bring the impression of the sun, the rays of the sun down onto the water, okay? I'm going to try it anyway. Let's see if we can try it. I put a nice rich orange in there first, okay? And I'm going to come down towards the center, okay? Then I'm going to put a yellow over this, a rich cadmium yellow. And the idea is that it sort of merges from the sky into the water, okay? All right. And I'll go with that. And next thing I'm going to do is just soften all of this just very gently together, just to get rid of some of the brush strokes again. And I might put a boat. I think I'll put a boat in here somewhere. I'll get a nice dark boat. I'll go with sienna and crimson, a nice warm colour. So we'll have a nice little silhouette against the sunrise. And I'm going to put a boat sailing into the sunrise. Like that. A little bit of black just for the base. And possibly a little reflection. And then a touch of highlight from the sun. I'm happy with that. I'm wondering, should we put more than one? Should we put maybe a trio or a duo? I don't know. Maybe one smaller one next to it. They're almost racing to catch the sun, isn't that right? And I'll take some yellow with some white, pop a little yellow with white up here. Just like that. And I think finally I'll use my palette knife just to add some of that yellow to the water. Okay? Now I'm hardly even using my reference photograph at this stage, alright, to be quite honest. There. And I'm going to call it done, my friends. I'm happy enough with that. I think that looks lovely. And I've got a little frame here as well to go with it. And there we are. Move my camera out of the way. And there we go. A lovely little sunset. Warm colours. Finished. Well, my friends, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this and got some hints and tips from it. I'll do a bit of work on this yet. I think I'll just tip away with the water. But in general, I'm very, very happy. So let me just take off this camera here now just for a moment. Bear with me, and thank you so much. There we go. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to support me, pop over to Patreon. There's some wonderful tutorials over there for you to try. Okay, I'll do a little bit on this, maybe just tidy up the water and add a little more highlights, maybe a few more shadows and that kind of thing. But in general, I'm happy. I'm very happy with the outcome of this painting. Let me know what you think. Do subscribe, and I'll be back next week with another little tutorial. God bless and happy painting.